Hi and welcome to Mastrius, and we're happy to have you here joining us for another Meet the Mentor event. My name is Elizabeth LaBelle, and I'm the host for the session today. For anyone that's new to Mastrius, we're an online platform that connects creatives to mentors who can help support you in your artistic journey. And our goal is to turn artists into masters one skill at a time. So we will connect you with experienced master artists like the one we're going to be interviewing today, Julie Snidle, for personalized teaching, feedback, and support. And our mentors offer these Meet the Mentor events for free, so you have an opportunity to get a peek into their creative practice and how they will approach their mentorship. So, hello, Julie.
Hello.
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 As I mentioned, I'm the host today. I've been with Mastrius as a member for over a year, and I recently joined a team of navigators at Mastrius who are people that support the learning environment for members with their chosen mentors. And I currently paint in acrylic. I was formerly an oil painter, and I am very interested actually in learning about wax-based media. So I'm really delighted to be part of the group that Julie will be mentoring starting next month. And today I'll be helping make sure that we have a smooth session and answer any questions that are asked. So today's event is an opportunity for Julie to share a bit about her artistic practice. And if for any reason you missed any part of the session, don't worry, we'll be uploading this to the Mastrius YouTube channel and you can watch it later. And before we begin, we also just invite you to keep your cameras on or off if you're whatever you're comfortable with. And if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or you can simply unmute yourself and ask a question. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Julie. So the main highlight of today's event, please introduce Julie Snidle. And just give you a little bit about Julie's background. Okay, just a second here. Sorry, I just got my screen. Here we go. Here we are. So Julie is a full-time artist with classroom and teaching experience and a background in corporate training and administration. She started working in wax-based media in 2004. It's been her primary media since then. She is a core artist instructor for R&F Handmade Paints and an artist ambassador for Ampersand Art Pins. And Julie is represented by galleries in Birmingham and in Minneapolis. And her work has received numerous awards and can be found in private collections and public spaces nationwide. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good to see you. And what is the weather today in Alabama? Is it as hot as it is here in Ontario?
It is in the 80s. The sun is shining. The humidity is lower than it will be later on in the summer. So it's actually quite pleasant out there today. Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic. So now I have just given a little bit of your background, talked a little bit about where you came from, but I was wondering maybe if you could just give us an introduction to how you kind of went from a background in education and corporate world to becoming a professional artist.
Okay. Well, I won't give you too much of the long story, but
Okay.
when I was a little girl, I loved to play school and I loved to pretend I was the teacher, but I also loved to draw and to color and to make things. So teaching and art have always been in my life ever since I was just a wee little girl back in the 1950s. So it just would make sense that I would go to school. I thought maybe I would be an art teacher, but I did go to school, but I ended up getting an education degree, not an art degree. So I'm coming to art from teaching first and then art second. But art has always been, it's always been my hobby. It's been my constant love. And even when I was teaching or raising my two daughters, art was always in my life. It was always either through photography or taking classes or workshops or, sketching or whatever. I was just always involved in art. So when I was given a chance to, when I did take my first encaustic workshop in 2004, and then another 4-day workshop in San Francisco in 2006, an encaustic workshop in my, and my girls were getting old enough now where, you know, I could start to pursue my art more seriously and spend more hours at it at the time. And so I would turn a room of the house and then a basement of the house and then another outside studio into working space. And I just was taking it more seriously. I was showing up regularly, which I think is really important for anyone wanting to get serious work. You do have to have a designated space that you can call your own, that you can go to, and it has your supplies already in it. You don't want to have to just have it all on the dining room table that you have to clean up every night and then pull it out, because you just won't show up regularly enough to make it work. Anyway, to answer your question, I was doing my own thing and teaching people, I guess, starting back in 2010, I was starting to have my first workshops with encaustic in my studio in St. Louis. And then I went to a function where I met the RNF and the founder, Richard Frumes, and they, in 2014, they invited me to be a full-time, well, to be a one of their artist educators, to be a core artist educator. And I thought, oh my gosh, these are my two favorite things, being an artist and an educator, and putting those together. I thought, this is perfect. What's the catch? You know, it sounded too good to be true, but it really has been a thing. I've been representing them for 10 years and teach both all around the United States, but also in my studio. In fact, today, and I'll show you around my studio in a few minutes, but right now I am sitting in my studio, which this actual space is, I can use it for private workshops or groups for up to 3 people that can come in and they can learn about encaustic, or pigment sticks, which is the other paint that they only make two products. They make encaustic paint, which is the kind that has to be melted on the palette, and then they also make an oil, they call it pigment stick, which it is basically just an oil paint.
It looks almost like a pastel, you know, like a pastel, oil pastel.
No, it's actually, it's like, well, oil paints either come in a tube or you can, or they come like this. I mean, this is just, it's oil painting without the tube. So really all that's in these is linseed oil and pigment, and then just a little bit of wax to hold the stick shape. But what I really like about it is the immediacy. You can actually draw with oil paint, but they're interchangeable with tube oils. So you could get a tube of white and mix it with any of the, you know, over 100 colors that RNF has, and they mix and they can be worked interchangeably with each other. So it's a wonderful medium. And through RNF, I have gotten, I mean, these are my main 2 paints that I paint with now. It's either encaustic or the oil paint. And then the oil paint, as you probably know, can be combined with cold wax medium, which is basically just a for the oil paint. It turns oil paint into like a frosting consistency. So you're spreading and scratching through and building layers and carving back, which is what I like to do in both that medium and the encaustic too. So I guess getting from just going from hobby to professional it's really all about having a space and showing up and having a mindset like I'm in this for real. I'm not just playing around anymore. This is you have to take yourself seriously. You have to consider yourself a professional. You have to you know, go into your studio as if you were going into your office. And it may not be for, you know, 9 to 5. It's not that kind of a thing where it's regular 8-hour days like that, but it's a regular showing up and being present. And it's also a way of looking at the world. Even when you're not in your studio, an artist will look at the world. And I think we're so blessed to those of us who are artists to have that gift of, and it's not a gift, it can be learned, but we have heightened sense awareness. We see things and catch things that other people don't see. And we are inspired and moved by just the littlest things, whether it's just you know, a red leaf against a gray concrete sidewalk or something. It's just the juxtaposition of just the little things that can grab our attention. And I guess for me, for wanting to not just put that excitement in my work, I also want to share it with anybody who wants to work with me, because I want to help other artists grab what's inside of them, you know, all that inspiration and all that cool stuff that's inside. And I want to help you get it out and put it on paper or canvas or a wooden, you know, a wood panel if you want to. I think it's all part of the art journey. And the beautiful thing is the art journey never ends. I know I'm going on and on. I get very
I know, and it's so interesting, and I love to hear that, because there's so many of our members or people who are considering, you know, joining Mastrius, that, you know, maybe feel intimidated by, you know, the fact that maybe they don't have a professional designation, or they didn't study art in university, and think that there's, you know, what is the path for me as an artist? It sounds like that's something that you have lived in your experience. So I think that's
absolutely.
a thing you can share with anybody who wants to join your group.
That's right. Yeah, I don't have an art degree. It's an elementary education degree. Actually, I taught all, including art, but art was not the focus of what I taught. And I taught for 5 years, and then I went into the corporate world, or education and training department once again, but it wasn't as creative as, you know, I find myself now. So I think it's a desire and I just wanting to do it, because honestly, this is the truth. All I've done is I've just one foot in front of the other with no great expectations other than I love this and I want to do this as much as I can. And if you're serious about it and you start entering shows and start getting some recognition, your work will automatically improve just by virtue of the fact that you are showing up. You know, you can't help but get better when you continue to do the work. It's like if you're given a musical instrument, you know, you can't play it well right off the bat. It takes practice, and, you know, not just hours and weeks, but months and years of practice to really hone your craft and really get good and to master it. And I think that's all it is. It's a time thing. You can't just read about it. You have to do it. And, you know, yeah.
And have that lived experience, you know, and honestly, I could say the last year I spent with Mastrius has really leaps and bounds for me, just in the consistency of it, which is something you mentioned as well. And what I'm wondering is, you know, we've been talking a little bit about some of the supplies and things that you use. Would it be possible for you to show us maybe some of your artwork and talk a little bit about your style as an artist and what you like to work on?
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
Sure. So, okay, let's flip this around or not. Let me try. Because last time I did, we lost each other. So, here we go. Yeah. Here's the right button. Okay,
fantastic.
So my studio it's a separate wing of the house. It was an add-on done by previous owners of the house, but I guess it was a mother-in-law suite at one time. But anyway, it's right off the kitchen. It's its own thing, but I'll just kind of give you a little walk around here. So when you come to the studio, I think what's really important is to have a space where you can hang your work, and then have a chair that you can be your contemplation chair, and you can actually kind of sit and just kind of see what about it needs to either be covered up or expanded upon or edited. And you start to learn about your preferences. What do I like? What don't I like? And so these on this wall are finished as I think they are anyway. Right now I'm saying that they are. This one over here is not. This is a 30 by 36 inch ampersand gesso board. It's a cradled panel, so it has You know, it has an edge, and I've got some tape on it right now, which I will pull off when I'm completely finished. But I have a lot of fun with the preliminary layers, and I don't go into a painting with any preconceived ideas. I completely, I make it up as I go along, but I may be subconsciously inspired by a memory of a trip that I recently took, or some colors that I was inspired by. But as far as knowing what it's going to be in the end, I don't know. And that's what makes it exciting for me. I love surprise. And so I just, I begin this way, and then let it, and then start to edit it and move forward. It can be many, many layers with many, many tools. So, okay, so
that
here's
one, sorry, that one that you were just showing us there, then what is that done in? Is that done in cold wax and oil, or is that in?
Yeah, it's oil. A little bit of cold wax, but oil. And you can see some of the things that look like drawing are actually done with the pigment stick, just like I showed you a little bit ago. And I love that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was saying, I like being able to draw with the oil paints. That's very important to me.
And it looks like you have a color palette that I can see something thematic in your color palette that you like to use.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of noise in the world, and I prefer quiet and calm, and just kind of reminder of beautiful and distant places where you might just relax. And although then things like this, you know, happen. This is an encaustic painting. You can kind of see the glare there a little bit. It's hard to photograph encaustic because it's got such a reflective, but they are beautiful. And actually photos don't do them justice. They really need to be seen in person to appreciate, you know, their full beauty. But I love working in both mediums. So just a little glance around. I am organized. I like to have a place for everything. So that's a magnet on the wall with tools. Here are some of the larger oil paints. This is my encaustic workstation. This rolling cart is where I keep a lot of my oil painting, like mediums and other like compatible tools and things that can be used, like brayers and little other drawing utensils and razor blades and that sort of thing. But I love the fact that it's on wheels and can be moved around, you know, because this space that I've got here where I was just sitting, as I said, that's like the workshop space. So I need to have that be kind of transitional space where I can move tables around, chairs around, depending on the situation. I will put out 2 tables and work flat. So I'll actually end up laying that panel down on the table and working that way. When you're working with brayers and carving and all that kind of stuff, it's just easier on the table than when it's in the easel. Although I do like the easel for looking at it. So this is, you know, kind of a nice view of my working space.
Wow. And
then this is the encaustic area. And encaustic, just in case people are curious, these are hot palettes. There's a little burner underneath that you can see heats these. They're anodized aluminum, and they melt the paint. So this is an encaustic paint, and they look like little bars of soap, but they're beeswax. They're just beeswax and pigment and a little bit of tree sap in them, so that it kind of acts as a hardener, and it keeps your painting from too soft and scratchable. So what's beautiful about it is it melts on contact. And then you pick up that paint with a natural bristle brush and apply it.
How much time do you have to work with it once it's melted?
Well, just like any kind of wax, I mean, candle wax is, you know, it's already, it's not
Wow.
even, it doesn't really go, it's not like drying like other paint. It goes
Okay.
from melted, it's more like going from a melted to a solid state.
Wow.
So it's already, you know, you just keep working with it. I can layer on top of that.
Okay.
Go
And
ahead.
can you blend colors in encaustic too?
Yes, absolutely. So I always keep a little bit of white on my palette because I don't want it to get contaminated with anything else, but it's just like any other kind of paint as far as mixing colors and being able to tint, you know, and then just get light colors. And then the other thing that's fun, and let me see if I can get this to turn down just a little. Encaustic is you want a porous, rigid surface. So you don't want to be working on canvas or paper necessarily on this because the wax would crack if it's too, you know, if it's too flimsy and if it would bend. Now there are ways to keep it doing that, but anyway, for the most part, the rule here is for every layer that you paint with wax, you need to fuse it with heat, and you can either do that with a heat gun or check this out. I prefer the torch. So it
Wow.
just melts, it melts the paint. And then you would add another layer, and then you would fuse, and you would add another layer. And so all of those paintings, all of my encaustic paintings that I've been making for 20 years have all been done in that manner.
Wow. It seems like a fairly forgiving in a way, because I mean, you can add layers, you can, you know, you can fuse it, you can scrape through it. It looks like a really
yes, it's probably the most forgiving medium that there is because it can be three-dimensionally, it can be very sculptural. I have some clay tools that I work with, you know, it's just, if you don't like what you have, you can scratch it off or paint over it. Yeah, it's incredibly versatile. It's a fascinating medium, and it dates, humans have been painting with wax since 800 BC.
Oh, wow.
So it's something that I always enjoy putting into my workshops too, and giving students a bit of history, because I think it's important to know about the medium that you're working with. So, and like I said, all the colors, and they're opaque, they're transparent, there's some metallics, there's some iridescence. I do have a fan here in my studio for blowing out any fumes. But like I said, we're working at 200 degrees, so it's not anything that's super high heat. I've been painting with it for 20 years, and I have asthma, and I'm not bothered. So, but these are, here's encaustic. These are all in. This one is an encaustic on paper, but because it's on paper, it's framed. Otherwise, the paper would have a tendency to maybe, you know, buckle and crack. And then here are some more pigment sticks. Oh, here's something a friend gave me. I got to show you this. I know this is a Julia Child quote, but I think everyone should have a blowtorch, Julia Child.
That is good.
That is the studio, but then in the next room is my office and copier and some storage closet and a bathroom and my library and paper and more paper. But yeah,
I was gonna say, I also see some acrylic paints there, quite a set of acrylic paints. Is that something you also work with?
Yes, that's what I used to do a lot more of it before I got involved with RNF. But so I used to do a lot of acrylic and collage. I used to make greeting cards, you know, rubber stamping was all the rage back in the early 90s. So yeah, I was part of that world, and it was fun, but I have kind of moved on into other directions. But occasionally I will pull out the acrylics, and I still do work with watercolor. whenever I travel, because I love to do a watercolor travel journal. But yeah, I would call this the clean room. So if this is, I love having a table in here so that I can kind of organize different workshops in different piles. I like to have a file system. I work with a daily journal where I turn a page every day and have my goals. I think goal setting is a really important part of going from amateur to professional also, because you need to have picture and then break into smaller bite size, goals and objectives to meet your goals. And that all comes back from my teaching days. That's how you teach. That's how you build lesson plans and curriculum, is having having a way for students to get to their endpoint. So let me get back here.
So let's answer a couple of things. So looking at your studio there, it's very well equipped. If you had to sort of narrow it down to your top 3 or 4 must-have elements in the studio, what would they be?
As far as mediums to work with?
Or as far as like things that, the design of the studio, or for people who have smaller spaces they're working with, maybe as they're getting started and trying to evolve their art practice, what would you say are the essentials from your perspective?
I think you need to have, at the very minimum, you need a table, and I would suggest just either an easel or a wall of some kind, so that you can stand back from the work. You have to prop it up and walk back about 10 feet or so you can look at it from a distance, because our artwork is going to be displayed on a wall at some point. And when you're looking down at it, only about an arm's length away, you really don't get the true story. So you really do need to have, a good distance from it. And let's see what else. A few chosen supplies. You don't have to have a lot. In fact, I think you can become more creative if you have fewer materials to, because it forces you to use what you have in new and creative. But a little storage for things, and then a sink. You need to have water if you are working with water media. But I'm just very blessed to have this space, but it by no means is necessary to be a successful artist. You can do I've seen people with much smaller art make much better art. So it's size has nothing to do with the success.
Well, and that sort of raises another question as we look through your studio with the other media that you have. So if somebody is looking, for mentorship, but let's say that, well, I can't maybe invest in encaustic supplies, or right now I'm working with acrylic, but I maybe want to transition, or I want to learn more. If somebody is not working in those types of media right now, would they be comfortable then having, or would you be comfortable in terms of their mentorship with you, working in a media that's not one of the ones that you're currently using?
Yes, absolutely. Making a painting is all of the elements of art come into play, and the principles about balance and movement and composition. It all comes together. It doesn't matter what medium you're working with. And having worked in so many different mediums myself, I can relate to a lot of them, like the acrylic and water media. Now I do lean more toward abstraction, so I still think that the same rules apply. The other thing too is that I want my mentees to understand that it's going to go beyond just tables and shelves and drawers. I want my groups to involve ourselves and have discussions about ideas, about creativity, and where do ideas come from, and how do you take what's inside of you, and like I said earlier, put it out there. And how, if you're confused about color, color is my it's my thing. I love it. And I can talk about it and teach about it and help people in an easy to understand way, you know, how to mix and get 100 colors from 3 colors. You know, if you want to work with a limited palette, I can help you with that. I can help you with artist statement writing. We can talk about day to day, what's expected, or not expected, but expectations you might have for yourself as far as, you know, if I only have 10 minutes and I can only do some little doodles or sketches in a sketchbook, does that count? Yes, absolutely, that counts. Every day, everything, even going on a walk and taking photos, you know, use your iPhone and your camera and get, you know, use your artist's eye to collect things to fill up your vessel. So.
No, that's wonderful. And it sounds like with that kind of range, I guess sort of in your mentorship groups, would that include things like doing demos, or would that include, would it be sort of customized to whatever the group seems to be looking for? What would be, how do you foresee that unrolling in terms of your mentorship groups?
Well, Mastrius is wonderful in that they have a needs assessment that is put out right away, the profile, when you sign up and you, what's important, what's not important, or what's kind of, I might like to know about that. So that really helps me know what to focus on. So I think than just giving a blanket answer, I would like to say that I would like to listen to them and I would like to meet them where they are and see what they want to learn. And this isn't about me. I know we've spent a lot of time here talking about me and looking at my stuff, but that's not what mentorship is about. This is about me being there for them and helping them on their art journey, whatever that may be. I hope to do that. And I'll be honest with you too. If it's art zone or something that I'm not expert at, I'm not going to fake it with you. I'll tell you that that's not something that I know that much about.
And you know, you taught a lot of workshops. You're teaching fairly regularly, you know, across the US. What do you find is sort of the consistent element for people in terms of things that enhance their learning that you see in the workshops that you deliver? What provides the most value for people when you're teaching a workshop?
I think just having plenty of studio time. I like having 4- and 5-day workshops for that very reason, because I can start the day or right after lunch, I might do a demo showing a technique, but I don't teach my students to paint like me. In fact, I kind of discourage that. We all have our own voices, and just like our signatures, we all have things that we, you know, our favorite colors and things that we prefer. We have our own preferences. So I encourage students to learn the techniques and apply them, but they don't have to adopt every one of them for their own. What I do is I kind of use an analogy like they're tools in your tool belt, you know, and here are some things that you can try. Take them for a test drive, see if you like them. If you do, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. But it's all part of the learning and growing. And I love make sure that my students have plenty of time in the workshop to explore and experiment.
That's fantastic. And you know, what is it do you think that brought you to Mastrius to want to join and to offer a mentorship at this time as a sort of addition to your roster of teaching?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I'm not teaching, I'm painting, and when I'm not painting, I may have a workshop here at my house. People do come in, they travel in to take from me here in my studio. So my time is very precious. It's very limited as far as, and I do have a husband that I need to spend some time with once in a while too. So, and daughters, grown daughters, but yes, it's a balancing act, and what was the question again?
What brought you to Mastrius?
Yes, Mastrius. Oh, of course. Yes. Okay. So why I'm so busy okay, so I do get asked from time to time, are you ever going to do online classes? And I don't currently teach online classes because I am so busy out and about. So Mastrius seemed to be a great compromise because it was a way where I didn't have to go through the whole learning curve of how do I teach online classes, but I can still reach people who want to learn and want to, grow their practice or learn from me specifically. But Mastrius, and you can kind of tell from walking around that I sort of like things organized, and Mastrius they're the best. Everything is very organized. Everybody I've talked to so far is very friendly, very helpful. It's just a great way to reach a lot of, people with just the perfect amount of effort for my life right now. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I know that people will be really interested to have a look at to this video and see your studio and learn more about your work. If people want to find you outside of this, then they can go to also your website to see your work. Is that the best place to go? Okay.
Yes, I would start there. It's juliesnidle.com. And I've got a workshop page that lists all of the workshops that are registering both for, this year, and usually the next year is on there as well. I may or may not have an overseas gig that is posted. That'll be on a separate page, but I'm also on Instagram and I do have a Facebook page too. It's just Julie Snidle, pretty easy to find.
Great. That's perfect. I'm just going to open up and see if anybody has any questions before we sign off from our meeting. Is there anyone who wanted to ask any questions, what they've seen, or any questions about Julie's mentorship? I'm trying to follow my training count to 10 rule before I start talking.
Just a comment. I was just gonna say I can just tell how excited you are to share your knowledge with others and expertise, and that I think that goes a really long ways of just feeling that our mentors here at Mastrius care so much. So yeah, thank you for the lovely presentation.
Oh, thank you. You picked up on that, huh, Anne?
I did. I loved it, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm and excitement. And that's
I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored and thrilled to be here. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I am really looking forward to working with you and to the folks that have joined our group so far. I think it's going to be a wonderful session. And the date that it starts is on June the 5th, first session, and it is at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Is that correct? That would be 12 p.m. your time, Julie. Is that right?
Right. And we'll meet the first Wednesday at noon Central Time. As often as we can. So that's the plan. So I can't wait to work with you too, Elizabeth. And we've got a group already, formed.
Yeah.
We've got 2 weeks to go and I'm looking forward to getting going. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. If there's anything, did you want to add anything else before we sign off for our session today, Julie?
No, I don't think so. We covered it. I just appreciate you and letting me speak to you about this.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Lisa, also for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.